Well, joining me right now from The Spectator Australia is, of course, James Macpherson, lawyer and commentator Sophie York, and delighted to have the Vice President of the Liberal Party, Tina McQueen, here as well. Welcome, everybody. Well, we've been talking a lot about the Queen, obviously. Following the death of Her Majesty, there are calls growing, wait for this, for a statue to be erected in Melbourne to honour Queen Elizabeth. Good, so far so good. But the left has long attacked historical statues of white men, saying women are underrepresented. But when it comes to Queen Elizabeth, they're now going, oh, no, we're not sure about that. There's an uproar. Tina, what do you make of this?
I think Dan Andrews' political radar is excellent. He feels the mood and the gratitude and respect for the Queen. And I think for the first time he's pushed back on these lifties. They're always screaming out to honour women. So why wouldn't they be the first to support a woman who hasn't put a foot wrong in 70 years? A magnificent example to the entire world. It's ridiculous, you know. But Dan's on a winner by putting a statue up of Queen Elizabeth. Has
Dan developed political antenna? Sophie, what do you think?
I hope he doesn't support any of this. I mean, it's quite shocking. It's such an insult to Her Majesty for people to even be raising it. It's not just the timing, it's actually even thinking to do such a thing. I mean, it's highly appropriate to have a statue to such a wonderful woman. She's such a great example her whole life, and it's so inspiring for women. I mean, she even worked as a mechanic, trained and worked in the final months of World War II. I mean, she's always been hands-on, and she's always actually encouraged women. We even had the first Australian Army officer, a woman, who served in a particular role in England under her. And I mean, she's just set such a great example of how to be a strong woman. And,
exactly. So, James, why is there this pushback from the left? I mean, it was a hospital last night we were talking about. Yeah. Can't call a hospital Queen Elizabeth. Now, you know, do you think Tina's right that Dan Andrews has actually picked this perfectly, or
well, it's a good idea, but Dan Andrews' mistake is not that she's a woman, she's the wrong kind of woman. She's a white woman, she's a Christian woman, and she's a woman who stands for Western civilization. So he's just picked the wrong kind of woman to honour.
For the left.
For the left, yes.
Good. I'm glad you don't agree with him. Look, then we've also got, of course, climate change is responsible, Tina, for certain trees that Queen Elizabeth liked might all die because of climate change. There was a particular tree that Queen Elizabeth used to like to stop at, have a small glass of whiskey as she was riding, and then go on. And we've now found I think it's an Australian university have come up with this idea that climate change is going to kill the Queen's trees. Are the lefties completely confused about the monarchy and the Queen? They don't know whether to build statues, build hospitals, or climate change, link it to climate change. What's going on?
I think they're in shock. The response to the Queen's death and the warm reception from the new King, they didn't plan it this way. They thought there would be no one turning up to honour the Queen, no support for the new King, and I think they don't know what to do. They're just going around attacking everything, including trees, because they can't believe the response, and they realise that, you know, the true values are valued by most Australians and the entire world, Rowan.
So they're all trying to get on the royal bandwagon.
That's
right.
There
we go. So we've got Albo, James, saying to King Charles, "Oh, you carry on talking about climate change. Off you go. You keep doing that. You know, we want an interventionist monarch." This is the left's idea now.
Again, we don't want to politicise the monarchy unless it's the right kind of politics, which is our kind of politics. So it's complete hypocrisy from the left again.
Yeah. 2.5 years after the pandemic began, Sophie, Western Australia, so this is Mark McGowan over there, is finally being lifted out of a state of emergency. How many years has it been? Bringing an end to the emergency powers, but there's a little trick here. They're going to still have something or other, some kind of lesser level of alert. What did you make of this?
I sort of think, thank goodness, New South Wales didn't lose its cool. We actually didn't declare a state of emergency, but all these lockdowns, border closures, mandates, I mean, they're quite horrific, you know, the effect of them. All the loss of livelihoods and relationships. I mean, people couldn't travel to marriages and funerals and see their grandchildren. It's so horrific, and it was completely overblown. It made out it was some, you know, it was equivalent to Ebola, the reaction, and yet it was a largely non-lethal, you know, comparable to the flu with the figures. And so I don't know why he's trying to do this power grab. Well, actually, I do know. I think most of the Labor premiers do know. They all want power, and that's why Dan Andrews put in that pretty much an enabling act, the Health and Wellbeing Act down there. No judicial review. It's just we can declare a potential pandemic if we like and lock you all down.
That was terrifying.
I mean, that's just,
that is terrifying.
Yes.
Tina, Dan Andrews, so yeah, he put in basically permanent COVID if he wants it. Yeah. He's even suggested, mask mandates on public. He's eased public transport mask mandates. But
that's a political thing as well, because the grand final's coming up. Right. So he wants people free to travel on transport. He doesn't want a crowd, covered with masks on. It suits him. Like I said, he's very clever. I mean, I can't stand him. I'd hate to live in Victoria. But he is politically a genius, Rowan.
Well, there you go. Well, we'll find out in November just how much of a genius. James, Chris Bowen, another political genius apparently, so they tell me, he's jetted off to the UN's Climate Week. I mean, is it never not Climate Week with the UN, do we think? But he's jetted off there. But this actually I find really irritating. And this is, he gets up and he says that, Australia's now, we're no longer bad boys. We're back in, we're being good. We're following the global agenda. Yeah. Running down your own country to the UN, is this a good look, James?
Well, you're right. He went there and he said, Australia's back. And I'm thinking, where have I heard that phrase before? And then I realised Joe Biden, when he won the presidential election, he said America's back. Well, they're back in the 14th row at the Queen's funeral. Australia's going back, all right. We're going backwards. We've got higher power prices. We've got higher food prices. Cost of living is out of control. Chris Bowen ought to be careful what he wishes for. He's going to tell the United Nations that we're going to become a renewable energy powerhouse, no superpower, whatever superlative you'd like to call it, he says. Well, their whole policy is superlatives. It makes no difference to anything, but Chris Bowen gets to grandstand in front of the world like he's somebody and wear the mugs who pay for it.
He's delusional, Rowan.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, that was a ridiculous speech. There's no recordings of it that I've seen yet, but I've read some of it, and it's just crazy. I mean, he's ruining our country on this. It was laughable, all to make himself look big on the world stage. Look, he's a joke. He's always been a joke. Everything he's touched has turned to poop. So we should ignore him, and hopefully we have some sane
Well, Sophie, he's been busy selling electric vehicles. This is the great automatically gets a laugh. It's like the good old days whenever you used to say the world's greatest treasure away and so on, you'd get an instant laugh. Now all you have to do is say Chris Bowen electric vehicles, and it's just
Chris
as
Bowen's
good.
Enough, Rowan.
Exactly, it's stand-up comedians around the country going. But have a look at this photo. This was in Sydney yesterday, down in, I think it was in Marrickville or somewhere. There's a photo that is doing the rounds of an electric vehicle plugged in. You can't see it very well there, but it's like there's the electric cord and extension cord going round the tree and up over into the window and plugged in. Is this the future, Sophie, for Australia?
Why don't they, have swap out batteries like gas bottles? I mean, it is quite ludicrous. But the bottom line is that people should always have a choice, Rowan. I feel that we're sort of all being shunted down this path where we won't have a choice. I mean, the EU has put in a ban on petrol cars by 2035. I just feel that, look, the Greens might have their view, but why should we all be instantly shunted down this path? And I mean, the greatest carbon footprint is actually the production of a car. So why are they sort of urging everyone to rush out and buy new cars?
Well, follow the money, Sophie. Yes, always follow the money. James, the CEO of BMW, who would you listen to, Bowen or the CEO of BMW, has come out and said, no, forget about we're going to have petrol cars for a long time to come.
Yeah, well, exactly. We've seen this in Europe where they've changed their energy policy, but they haven't prepared to go renewables, and so now they've got energy shortages, and we're doing the same thing with cars. We don't have the infrastructure if everybody suddenly goes to electric vehicles. But I wonder if this is their plan anyway. The elites will own cars and we'll all be happy.
Very quickly, Tina, before we go, can you please fill me in? Where is Peter Dutton, and why aren't I hearing from the Liberal Party repeatedly about the damage Albo has done to our Constitution by demanding an interventionist king? Why haven't I heard criticism of The Voice? Why haven't I heard criticism of Bowen?
That will all start Friday.
When? We heard before it was going to start.
No, because there has been great respect for the Queen, and this has been a hard time, and I think...
Yeah, but you strike while the iron's hot.
He will strike Friday. It'll still be hot,
I want to hear it. I hope so.
You'll hear it. You'll hear it loud and proud. Don't you worry about that.
I can't wait. Okay.